This conference will now be recorded.
We'll begin with the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to the October 23rd Marion County Commission meeting. We begin with public comments. No one in the room from the public. Is there anyone online?
If anyone online has a public comment, please type your name into the chat.
Okay, not seeing anything. Move into agenda approval. Yes.
I'd like to add, we're getting down to the finals of a plan for the buildings and stuff up there on Main Street, and I'd like to have some discussion on that day, just discussion right now. And part of the meeting probably between after the road and bridge and maybe right before Brad.
Okay.
If possible.
Sharon had a item to bring up on a watershed. Can we do that administrative, or do we need a separate?
I was just going to bring that to you in administrative.
Perfect.
It was some mail that you received,
Yep.
and then she was just going to help explain it. I also sent that out this morning, or shortly before
Yep.
the meeting, just as a reminder, because
Okay.
you've seen it before.
Good, we'll take care of that under administrative. Any other additions to the agenda? If not, we have the agenda approved and move into administrative.
Okay, I have the minutes from October 10th, and then I have the minutes from October 16th.
Is there a motion to approve October 10th?
Both.
Let's do separate. Please. Okay, motion from Commissioner Garing on October 10th. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to give it to Commissioner Becker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. One abstained because I was not present. Now let's do the other one.
So motion.
Okay. Motion from Commissioner Garing to approve the October 16th minutes. Second. A second by Commissioner Dahlke. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0.
That's a really big packet I sent to you all.
Stayed up late that night.
Oh my goodness. On the table, you have the revised longevity policy for approval. The only change that was made, and that was based on our previous discussion, was in point 4. It says longevity payments will be issued as wages on a separate check during November each year. Previously, it said wages on the November paycheck. And so we asked that that be split to a separate check. And so that's the only change.
Okay. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
A motion from Commissioner Garing to approve the revised longevity plan for Marion County employees. Is there a second? Second. Second, Commissioner Becker. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Can the commission get a report after you do that of what everybody got?
Sure.
How many years?
Yeah, I'd be good with just years.
Years, yeah, years.
I can do the math,
Yeah.
but I don't really need to know. I mean, it's the
Every
years.
year, yes.
Do we each sign this?
No, I just was gonna have chairman's.
Okay.
No, it's
Good to know.
good to appreciate.
Yeah.
I have a couple of salary sheets.
Okay, 3 salary sheets. The first one's in the health department. It's the new seasonal nurse, $26.01 an hour, Jenna Meyerhoff. Road and Bridge Admin, new Administrative Specialist 1, Brianna Railing Rodriguez, $2,491 a month. Welcome aboard. And in Road and Bridge Gravel, new Equipment Operator 1, the William Holy, $2,744 a month. Again, welcome aboard.
Update, we have now 4 applications for county administrator, according to Mr. Deba. If he's expecting some more, if you don't get them, he may want to recommend that you extend the period. That was the report from this morning, so just letting you know about that.
The closing date was the
The
27th.
27th, I believe, is the one that you had initially chosen, so we'll just have to see how things go this week.
All right.
I do have a question about November 6th meeting date.
Okay.
So that's the day before the election. So,
That's a
do
commission
we,
holiday.
I'm just curious, want to postpone or meet in the morning on that day? That's kind of a challenging afternoon in here. So if you want to go ahead and meet, that is fine, and
Oh, yeah.
even if it's at normal time, we'll make it happen. I just,
Our end of the month meeting.
31st.
Tuesday. Just load that. We okay loading that one up and trying?
add business on payday
Yeah.
on the October 31st.
Yeah.
I think we already have
We have some
quite a few
business.
busy things coming up on the 31st, along with the update on the administrator. How about if we would do a morning one on the 6th, and hopefully keep a light agenda at
Does that work for anyone?
Do 9
9 o'clock?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
What's on the 9th up there?
That's our election audit.
Okay. Audit?
You're not involved in that
Okay.
part unless you want to come watch.
Not the
The
canvas.
canvas is on the 13th, and that, I've got it at 11 a.m., so we can do that, and then you can have a lunch break and go, hopefully, and then go into regular. meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so we do have a meeting like that.
Yes.
We don't have Veterans Day. Okay,
No.
never mind, never mind.
I believe our closing date is the 10th, because the Veterans Day is on a Saturday.
Okay, so the 10th is the holiday. Very good. Okay, so let's go with 9 o'clock on the 6th.
Okay, thank you. That'll make it slightly easier to juggle. Just a reminder that we do have a meeting scheduled this Thursday at 9:30. That's just a special session for commissioners to meet with the leadership in Marion County program participants. So, for County Government Day.
Not doing any business that day.
No. I think that's all I have.
Okay, Sharon, would you want to come up and kind of help guide us through the? I think the commissioners got their packet from Tina that has the full explanation about it.
Here's the letter if you guys want to look at it again.
Email to us.
Yeah, I just emailed it again, so.
So the letter you received is from the USDA, and what they're requesting is that Marion County be a cooperating agency on this watershed dam project over by Blue Stem and 280th. Yeah, on the northeast corner of the county. So, long story short, you should affirm to be a cooperating agency because for one, we have legal jurisdiction. We are a permitting agency that covers that portion of ground. So we legally are kind of obligated to be a cooperating agency. And then also the other reason why you would want to be a cooperating agency is so that you have some say-so in the scope of the project and the environmental impact statement. If you opt out, which I don't even know if that's an option, Brad.
It's a formality. You're basically involved, but would you please, voluntarily go along?
You're voluntold, basically.
Yeah.
So, but there are a few things that come with that I would caution the commission. A couple of things that you might want to find out early in the game is what resources are they going to ask the county to provide, time, money, people, whatever. Also, I would want to find out who's going to be the owner of this project, who will own the dam essentially after it's built, and who will maintain it, who's responsible for that, who's responsible for development downstream, like a dam breach inundation area. So there are some questions that you need to ask. For those that opt out of being cooperating agencies, you won't get an opportunity to even look at those impact statements until they're ready for a public hearing. So it's important to get involved early and ask some questions of the watershed district. And I think that their timeline, they anticipate a draft environmental assessment early November. So I would definitely be contacting that watershed district. I think they had an initial public meeting, right, or stakeholder meetings. So if you need contacts for that, let me know, I can help you with that.
Any questions?
This is a watershed doing this?
Yeah, they came and talked, it was a little bit confusing because there are 2 watershed dam projects being proposed for Marion County. One is over by Indigo and 90th? Is that right, Kevin?
Yes.
We're partnering. Yeah, Randy took lead on most of that, so.
Okay, and that's
Doyle Creek.
Doyle Creek.
Doyle
Watershed.
Creek watershed, and this is Middle Creek,
Middle Creek, right.
right? So, this would be the Middle Creek watershed project that, Larry Sample and Brian, I can't remember who else came and spoke about that.
My question though, Sharon, and this is way before you or me, is some of this stuff that we're doing for this one already been done for the one down at 90th and Indigo? That's my question is, what's the difference here between the two that we haven't discussed anything for the Indigo, but yet our watershed, yeah.
I know the main thing that I can recall, the difference here, it sounds like they're not really asking us to improve the road or do anything on our easements, whereas down there they did, and that's why we had so much involvement, and they wanted to, and the hardest thing was credits. They wanted to pay us in credits.
Yeah.
And wrapping your mind around what credit is worth. So
Well, they never could explain it.
Yeah, yeah. But
Other than
it sounds like
it was there.
but as long as this one doesn't have credits, and it doesn't interfere with the road, it's going to be much simplified.
Yeah, it's still, watershed is watershed, and I just saying, if we're possibly responsible for anything on the other one, I wanna know about it too.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
could we direct our council to draft a letter to whoever needs to have that with the specific questions that Sharon's brought up?
Or I wonder
Well,
if maybe,
there's
Sharon.
two
I wonder
issues.
if maybe Sharon could just help
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
Okay,
Sharon can handle the question.
Sharon wants
The
to-
the first step would be whether or not we want to be a cooperating agency.
Yes.
The second step then would be to follow up with questions.
Yes.
kind of a no brainer.
Right. But we can't take the action unless the commission approves, and I wanted to make sure the commission was on board to approve moving forward as a cooperating agency. Once we do that, then we follow up with the questions that have been raised, all very good questions.
I would move that we,
You don't have to write that.
I would move that we proceed as a cooperating agency.
Okay, we have that motion from Commissioner Garing. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dalkey. Other questions or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. Sharon's already provided a draft of the email to go. Do I send that, or do you send that, or?
That should probably
Brad?
come from you
Okay.
or Brad as the chairman of the board.
Okay.
It would be the board accepting.
Okay, because we've taken the action so that I can issue that.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll take care of that.
Okay, so I'm not writing that.
So far, you don't have.
Get something
But
drafted.
that's Brad.
I would-
Doing a good job.
We need you to take care of the other.
Now, when the issues arise.
Yeah, it's the other stuff later.
Yeah.
Just,
I tried to make it so you didn't, later, Brad, I tried to help you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there could be very little to no involvement from the county. It's not uncommon to get these letters.
Right.
As the or the floodplain administrator, I get those letters all the time, just as for the floodplain. But this one involves the commission, land owned by the county, so that's why that letter came to you.
motion to authorize the chairman to direct planning and zoning to ask relevant questions on the commission's behalf.
Necessary. Okay, very good. We have a motion from Commissioner Garing to authorize Sharon to follow up any questions as needed for the watershed, and some that have been raised.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Very good. 5-0 formalized.
Any
Very good.
questions?
Thank you, Sharon.
Thanks.
I just appreciate having you come over to clarify questions.
No problem.
Otherwise, they'll just get asked and then you have to
Yep,
come over
yep,
anyway.
then we have to
Right.
delay it.
No problem. Thank you.
Actually took action on something without pushing it down. So, anything else on administrative?
No.
Very good, then we are ready for Josh. Phyllis has him, so.
Phyllis is
Josh?
ready for Josh.
Wait, I was gonna have a delay, sir, I'm gonna come back and find everything's locked up.
All right, Josh, no stack of papers?
No stack of papers, no papers today.
Okay.
I would like to go into a personnel discussion.
How long?
10 minutes.
Okay. Tina and Brad also.
That's fine.
Personnel performance.
Personnel performance.
I move that we recess an executive session in order to discuss personnel performance of an individual pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. Item 1, personnel matters, non-elected personnel performance of the commission, Josh, Brad, and Tina for 10 minutes. That'd be 12:50 to 1 o'clock.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. We will be back at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, that wasn't much
This
discussed.
conference will now be recorded.
I didn't see that there was gonna be anything, but honestly, I was driving back from Branson and did.
We're out.
All right, out of executive session, no decisions made. Thank you, Josh.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck with the wind.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the dust will subside a little
I
bit
was
the next few days.
hoping for a little more rain than we got last night.
We'll hope for that next
I'm
time.
hoping for the rest of the week.
Hi, Nikki. Come on in. What do you have for us today?
Oh, this is my quarterly update.
All right.
We are in compliance for 2023, which I think you guys all like that. I've started land for 2024. Currently, it looks like it will probably increase, and that's like vacant lots, not agricultural land. So I haven't seen what the use values would be for 24 yet, so I don't have that information. But regular lots will probably go up. I do have a BOTA hearing tomorrow, Board of Tax Appeals hearing tomorrow on 3 properties in Hillsborough for vintage apartments, which is affordable housing. Affordable housing is valued on an income approach. They kind of have different rules than everything else. They want me to use their own income data. The evidence I have is pretty good versus what they have. Their income data is not very consistent with what the owner reported versus what the tax rep reported. So I'm hopeful, but I never know how those are going to go. So, what they want's kind of not realistic. What happened? And then I do need an executive session to talk about personnel.
Okay. How long would you like?
Probably 10 minutes.
Okay. Brad and Tina? Cool.
Whoever.
You're so easy to go on. I move that we recess an executive session in order to discuss personal performance of an individual pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. Item 1, personal matters, not elected personal performance. With Nikki, the commission, Brad and Tina for 10 minutes. 104 to 114. Second by Commissioner Gehring. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. Back at 114.
She said any calendar, but
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we're out of executive session. No decisions made. Anything else for us, Nikki?
I don't think so unless you guys have any questions on compliance or anything like that.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect
Walked
timing.
right in, yeah.
Perfect timing. If you want to take the seat by the microphone, by
Sure.
Commissioner Dalkey.
Yeah. I mean,
A little tag there, it says hot seat.
yeah, been in one of those before. Just take one of those.
Okay, pass it out. Okay.
So my name is Jonathan Clayton. I met most of you before when I was here about a month or so ago with your R&R meeting. I was the bothersome guy from the state, but not from the state, but was working with the state. And I live in Peabody, and I've actually no longer work with the Commerce Department. I have started out on my own doing some economic development, grant writing, and grant administration consulting for some organizations basically from Wichita up to Johnson County. But being a resident of Marion County and a resident of Peabody and knowing what good opportunities are around and what's needed in certain areas, and every community is a little different, of course, but the needs are kind of the same across the area. So I'm just here to kind of introduce myself, give you some information, and let you know that if there was an opportunity down the road or sooner rather than later, I am available for these kinds of services. So to give you just a little bit of my background, I was with the Commerce Department for almost 4 years. Most recently was the Director of Economic Recovery. And so I oversaw about $550 million in administrative ARPA funds, which has been just ARPA is a 4-letter word that came up out of the last three years, so we all know what that is. So that was a range of competitive grants, direct legislative spending, and also just ad hoc grant and administrative programs throughout the state. So that's kind of my most recent background. Previously was living out on the East Coast and working with Penn Medicine. I
I'm a Kansas guy, Western Kansas, born and raised, got my degrees from Fort Hays State, so made the right choice and moved back to Kansas after being away for a while. But my thing is I like to help. I want to be there in the mix and get things done. I know that's a difficult thing sometimes on the outside of watching the commission have to try to maneuver RFPs or politics or just decisions that have to be made and trying to get things done. And what I've been successful doing with my role with Commerce and also now on my own is helping to get those things done. So we have a great grant that we're working on in Peabody. We have some other opportunities in the county. I know there isn't, from the discussion when I was here last, there isn't a line item in the budget for economic development, but there are other ways that you can look at doing some things that could just, if not just for me, but for anyone who else would be interested. I always try to make sure that everything is above board, so that if I were to assist you, for example, as a county, write a KDOT grant application, I'm not required to be the administrator if you are awarded that. That would have to go out to bid. I could bid on that, unless sometimes there's a restriction from the grant writer bidding on the admin work, but everything like that, to reduce any kind of conflict of interest, to reduce any kind of favoritism. So that's what I'm here for, just to kind of give some information. I have scaled rates, so smaller areas around the state receive a lower fee for my services that I offer compared to the larger counties, and it's based off of a county measurement. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, or if there's any kind of discussion you want to have at a later point, I'm happy to make myself available.
Yes.
I was on the phone at 11:45 this morning with one of my area residents, and the question from that resident was that they have seen different parts around our county, internet going to the country, to country services and stuff like that. And the question was, how come we're not getting any here in Marion County? And my best answer is knowing that most of the companies that has expanded to the country has got grants or something to that effect to do that. So that was a question that was just posed to me a very short time ago, because I was going to talk about it in commission comments. But since you're here, did you ever, in your department, did you ever cover anything like that for internet through the counties and stuff like that?
So that was a closely related division physically next to mine. I sat next to the office of the broadband director.
Okay.
So they were here in the Peabody Library, I want to say about 6 months ago.
Yes.
And they did a road show and tour with that,
Okay.
and I was here as a resident instead of, that wasn't my department, but yes. So rural areas, a lot of rural areas, and basically mostly provided to the service provider itself to allow for expansion into more rural areas was how most of those programs were set up, but not all of them. Some of them were also set up so that if there was a city infrastructure cost associated with expanding, it would help cover some of those as well. But yeah, there's still active programs with the Office of Broadband, and that falls under the Commerce Department.
Was that the department that our governor was working through wasn't that part of her deal to bring internet through the?
There's an administrative push.
Yeah, I think one of her goals.
Department of Commerce.
Okay.
So that theoretically by, I'm not sure a certain date, but that every area could have access to some kind of.
But the local internet provider has to apply for it and the grant and everything.
Most of the grants worked that way, if I recall correctly.
County didn't ever get the money and say
No.
I don't think that, I think most of them are done with sort of
Yeah.
5 would have to.
Because it has to be somebody who touches our county.
Correct.
Comes on.
Or someone who is from an adjacent county wants to move into
Yeah.
Marion County.
We've had a couple of those now.
The other thing I wanted to, and I have on this page too, that I wanted to bring up as well, which kind of touches on that, but is one of the services I've helped provide in the past is a website that kind of provides a hub for information that new or existing residents of the county can just find if they have access to it. So it's an ad hoc economic development website, but it provides information on housing programs. It provides free listings for real estate as well as job postings. It also links to the city level tax rebate programs. And it just kind of provides a network of information, kind of a touch point. So I have developed quite a few different kinds of websites, that being one of them. So that's something, again, as an information center, I think would be good. And then the last thing, and then again, I don't want to take up much of your time. I know obviously there's lots of ongoing discussion or could be discussions about an economic development position. That's not what I am pursuing with the county. Something would be strictly on a contract basis. All the oversight of any kind of funds would be handled and managed by either the commissioner or county administrator position. But one statistic I just wanted to kind of throw out there. Right before I left Commerce, we did a big study on county by county, which counties got the majority of grant funding, tax incentives, commerce programs, statewide programs that were all based out of just the Commerce Department. So we looked back from 2019 to 2023 mid-year, and roughly $2.25 billion went out from the Commerce Department for different kinds of grants. 2.1 billion of that went to counties that had at least a part or full-time economic development person, either on contract or permanently placed. The other 100 to 150 million roughly was to those counties that don't have any representation from that kind of standpoint. So it's just something to think about in terms of being visible, being viable. I just would hope that that would kind of stick in your mind in terms of having some kind of representation economically wise could provide a huge benefit to the county, whether that's me or not.
You didn't go on down the line and see the size of the cities or counties that got those grants, the same ones?
So I know the majority of them go to the larger cities like Wichita, Johnson, and all of Johnson County, Topeka, and Lawrence. But when you look at, so one of the other things that we studied was based off of the 6 kind of geographic regions of the state. We looked at where all those funds went, but then we also looked at per capita. So based off of the size. So I'm being from Southwest Kansas, that was the primary one that we looked at. And per capita, Southwest Kansas got more funds from Commerce than any other of the other 6 areas. It was about $1,500 per person received some kind of, the average funding from the Department of Commerce, whereas South Central or Southeast was more in that $400 to $500 range because of 1 or 2 large projects like the Hillmar cheese plant in Dodge City was a huge boon, and when you don't have a large population, it spreads that out much more evenly. That's a good question. There's always a heavy leaning towards those larger counties and cities, but the rural ones are the ones that need it more for growth, in my opinion. And I'm Western Kansas rural, so I understand that very, very well. I come from a town of about 180. So.
Well, Jonathan, obviously the county has a multitude of different areas, and they all are in desperate need of research on grants, any type of funding assistance we could possibly come up with, whether it be law enforcement, road and bridge, health, emergency management. I mean, boom, 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 boom. There's opportunities everywhere, and every dollar we bring in helps our taxpayers and our citizens get better service or meet that tax burden. Do you have a concept in mind moving forward or a proposal for us how we can start using your services?
Well, I would recommend that if you were to make a decision to put out a bid, a notice like an RFP for proposals, asking for those kinds of services, grant writing, grant administration, whatever your scope of work would require, that'd be something I would be interested in pursuing and bidding on so that it would be fully open and fair. absolutely. I think that would be, once you have the amount of time to discuss this and figure out what steps you want and what you want on that RFP, I think that would be a good choice.
I think your timing is really good and that we're on the edge of hopefully moving forward with an administrator
Yes.
for our county.
Right.
And it looks like that would really provide a good opportunity to dovetail with that position.
Absolutely.
Rather than jumping in before we get that administrator in place perhaps,
Mhm.
but getting us to think about it
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. And it works well with that type of position works well
Yeah.
with the grant.
Yeah,
writer as well,
dynamic.
too.
I had a question now.
Coordination, because most of these grant programs, like you said, it comes through the departments.
Mhm.
And so we've got all of these different to jockey with.
Right.
And,
Do you, you got access to all the grants that are available? What state, I mean?
Yeah, so I don't
mean,
have
would you-
any kind of
would you-
inside track, but yes, I have access where I
But I
can
mean,
find.
would you come with half a dozen grants?
Yeah.
See if we're interested in having you apply for them?
That's-
But we don't
that's-
know what's out there.
Right, yeah,
But-
just to bring a list of those
You brought-
programs with a calendar that shows like when they're due, how much.
Is
they're
that
covered.
feasible?
But you don't want to create any projects because you see a grant. You always want to, hey, we're having this go along, and then there's a grant for it that will help pay for it. If you start creating projects, because there is a grant, you're
Yeah.
gonna wind up just spending a lot of money that you weren't planning on
The
spending.
analogy I use for that is I helped an organization, they applied for a grant to get $5,000 of like, security equipment, but they had to paint their parking lot pink because of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So it was helpful, but it wasn't the right fit, and it's better, like you said, Jonah, to have a program or a project in mind and then try to find the funding that goes with it. But you can also be proactive and find those other kinds of grants and programs that might be something that you're looking at for your budget next year. With the big infrastructure act that came out a couple years ago, there's a state program that if you were, say, to apply as a county, that state program provides you with the matching funds so that you have those secured to then apply for a federal grant. And then it's matched, it's paired together. So that's something that you could even coordinate on a larger scale with 2 or 3 counties together. Usually the bigger scale you have, the better chance you're gonna have for a grant like that, rather than 3 roads in one town. But, adjacent counties with connecting county roads is a huge opportunity for something like that.
All right, well, thank you, Jonathan. Again,
Absolutely.
this is something I know many of the commissioners have been very interested in.
I just have one comment. Marion County does belong to South Central Kansas Economic Development, SCED.
SCED, yes,
Out of
yeah, they
Wichita.
are a part.
Are you familiar with them?
Yes, I am.
And they do provide also grant writing. They work with quite a few of the communities around, on infrastructure, especially on infrastructure, water, sewers, all that kind of thing. But they do other things too.
Yeah, I've worked with them in my professional role and also personally as well too, so whenever we were moving here. With SCED and with the Greater Wichita Partnership, which still touches Marion County as well too, so I have some good interactions with both of those groups. Thank you.
Also, got connections with the Family Foundation or?
Yes, so there is an organization out of Kansas City called the Patterson Family Foundation. It was founded by Neil Patterson, who was the co-founder or founder of Cerner Medical Equipment. And before he passed away, he established a large private foundation. And they, as an organization, only have 2 service areas, Western Missouri and all of rural Kansas. And rural Kansas is any county under 50,000. They were a part in the roof project that the Peabody Main Street Association got a couple of years ago for 2 of their downtown buildings. The Patterson Family Foundation paid for half of that. And they did that through the state, but I also have a good personal relationship with them from a building that I worked on in Western Kansas as well. So they're a great organization. Sunflower is a great foundation. Sunderland also as well too. So I have some contacts in each of those, but I'm happy to share those and use those as best as needed.
And we have received some Patterson grants for the health department.
Yeah. They came around a couple years ago with about a truckload of masks and then all sorts of assistance for COVID. A great organization.
Well, thank you again. I think the time now is excellent.
Thank you, appreciate it. Have a good day.
Take care, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom. Come on in.
All they have is a road crossing for there.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit? Next Tech?
Yeah, it's right, going south out of Goslar, I guess.
Okay.
Replacing some and adding a little for the future.
Is the permit
What I,
number on
what I
there?
read, what I read on there.
Should be on the upper right corner.
Okay. We need to have a permit number, Mr. Holland.
BR 549.
You just a messenger, aren't you?
Huh?
You just a messenger.
Let me, is Vicky downstairs today?
Yeah.
While she's getting the permit number, what other updates do you have for us? Do you have any other updates for us, or just the permit? That was it?
We're done digging out east of Tampa.
Okay.
They finished that up today.
Okay.
Keep telling me, there's more happening. Keep
Their
it coming.
micro
yeah.
sealing is down at Peabody. They're going west out of town
Yep.
today. Hopefully start up night out tomorrow.
That microservice thing's looking good, I think.
They just got there. They pulled in Saturday evening.
Well, they've done Remington.
Oh, they got that moved in, okay.
Yeah, that's what he
They
said.
did that.
Last week.
Yeah, I got hyped about that one.
The striper guy called earlier today. He's
Because
moving down this afternoon. He hopes to start tomorrow if weather permitting.
Okay, thanks.
No generator at the shop yet.
Too bad there isn't somebody you could call.
There's pipe in the ground, I think.
Yeah.
The pad never got poured.
We're waiting on the concrete
Pad was
pad.
supposed to be poured.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a permit
So-
number. The permit number is 2023-23 for Next Tech near Goslar. Is there a motion to approve?
That, so moved.
Motion by Commissioner Balky, second by Commissioner Gehring. Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried 5-0.
Back to the new board under the road, board under entrance to a house, so doing what they're supposed to. We are in. As much as I know.
Just talking about high speed. They got another house.
Oh, that's acceptance.
Yeah, it's usually done.
First one. Okay, thank you.
Striping, micro seal, chip seal done, dig out done over Tampa. Any other questions?
Dig out what?
Base failure.
All the base failure on east
East
of
out
Tampa.
of Tampa there.
Oh, and that.
That's
Yeah.
stretched it. Yeah. That's stretched
That
it.
weak spot there on the full depth. Indigo's open
Oh, yeah.
and good, and it's been open, but I went down
I
it
think-
the other day and it's
I
nice
haven't
having that
checked on
shoulder.
the Nighthawk 190 project, I don't know. I think they're done digging out, so. I don't know if they're gonna start pouring concrete.
Well, right before they started that project, there was a stop sign coming from Peabody that flashes. Half the LEDs weren't working. But I figured it
And I
wasn't.
don't know if they weren't working or they were real dim. I didn't get out and actually look,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it was the other
I
ones
figured-
reflecting in there, but it looked like maybe.
I figured with the construction going on, you weren't gonna be able to see that stop sign
Right,
for
well, I
a
think
while.
them are coming out because rumble strips and all that are getting put in.
Yeah.
So.
All right, well,
Any
thank
other
you. Tom.
questions?
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Get back out into the wind. All
I
right,
guess you'll get that back to Vicky or whoever.
I need to make a copy and I'll put it in the
Okay.
box.
okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, Commissioner Dalkey, you asked for some time.
Yeah, this is sort of looking forward, sort of just want to see how the board feels. We're getting real close to a final design. And so we've had phase 1, phase 2, whenever this final design is done. So when we get to that stage, there was the next stage, stage 3, was somewhere in an $80,000 vendor for them to continue on. My thoughts to this is when you get a plan, let's say this would have to be something like this. If it was like that, and you got to that stage, you still don't have all, stage 3 is putting all the goodies in, measurements and building, and stuff like that. And then you also would be looking for total cost. But if we bring it in and give a total cost for one particular thing, let's say this is a metal building, what we've been looking at, things, there's all kinds of options out there at this point. So, do we want to bring it together with a plan like this and go into a bidding process to build the building then? But you still got to have all the good stuff, and that's where what I don't want to do is bring a price on this building, and we put that out in the public, and then if you go and put a building like this up for bid, well, it's just not fair to them. And to them, it would be go ahead with stage 3. Then they would put the thing out. Because there's we've priced a metal building here that maybe a person could build a wood building to this effect. So, which is the same as what we have up there. So, I'm just kicking this around to you guys as general. What do you want to see next? And after we get to this stage, and we'll get your approval on this before we went any further, if there's something that the commission did not want in this building, way we possibly, rule it out.
So is this the Cadillac plan or the Chevrolet plan?
Well, that's what I'm concerned about. Every option that we put on here, we're wanting to bring prices for, so if you want to take it off, you could. But I would say that a metal building would be a Cadillac compared to a wood building.
Really?
And so,
Yeah, it's apples and oranges. It's two
don't
different
compare.
buildings. Yeah.
They don't compare, but I don't want to put out a price unless we decide that metal building and nothing else. If you want that, if you want a wood building and nothing else. The plan is here, or going to be here. When we finalize it, they were shifting some things around. The reason why the last shift has still been probably one of the, and I probably am the cause of this, because I thought that they'd shifted the garage to the north side of the building, or the west side of the building. I thought we could still go out. We can't, because that's not our property over there in the back side. So I asked them to reverse it over here and put it back on the east side, since we've heard from EVH that as long as there's restricted access to go out through the school, that might be a possibility to go out through the school. And the details of that is they just didn't want to highway traffic through the school property. They opened it up for us at a minimum. So there's some things that I think, before I put prices out to the public, I mean, I want it to be fair to everybody's bid on it, or we've made a final decision on that. Just looking for some input. That's all I'm looking at right now.
Part of the direction of the committee was to come up with a proposal to the commission.
Yeah.
If one of those options is a very high price proposal that we know isn't going to get the support of the commission, probably isn't worth the committee bringing forward. I mean, that might, if there's a more reasonable option, if one of the options you're looking at is a more reasonable, more acceptable option, it's more likely that would be the option to be presented, the Chevrolet versus the Cadillac.
Then it would be worth presenting both at the same time. The Chevrolet, what you just asked.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, in the end, it all comes down to dollars and cents.
Right.
So, okay, here's my Cadillac option, is what it's gonna cost. here's my Buick option, here's what it's gonna cost, here's my Yugo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, there, that's a good way.
I mean,
That's,
Trying to
I
throw me off.
understand
I'm
that.
a layman, and so that's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, I understand that, but what happens a lot of times is we come up here and you put it out and you ask to see what they've got for a bid. And then we want to change something and it's already out for a bid. I don't want the bid to be out.
No,
But
that's
what
why.
what they're supposed to be providing is an engineer slash architect's, cost estimate. It's
Yeah.
not the same thing as a bid.
Okay.
So the next step would then be detailed drawings, which is the phase 3, whether you want them to
Correct.
get into the detailed
Correct.
drawings,
And
which
then
is all the
I-
schematics and
yeah.
all that. So basically at phase 2, what they should be bringing you is options and what it might cost.
Okay.
It's just a very general price, it's not a
Yeah, we
specific
gotta have something to look
bid
at.
cost.
Yes.
Before we
Is that-
spend $80,000,
Or,
we put the plug in at, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I think what we got now, you know, is the right concept.
and, you know, I like saving money with a wood building, but I think longevity. You talked about, we're gonna do something, let's do it so it outlasts us, right?
yeah.
Metal building is the only way you're gonna get that.
And I
Or
was-
for me.
So far, in my research so far for metal buildings, that they're probably a third higher to
Double.
maybe double higher, yeah. Just so that everybody understands
But
that,
they
that's,
will outlast a wood building.
so I want everybody to be on board with that when you prevent a metal building, it's naturally gonna be higher,
Have more prices,
yeah. And
because we kind of got the number of rooms that we
Yeah.
need.
we're getting real close.
Services.
It's just a matter of, we switch the garage over to whether we can move the office down. I think that's what they're working on. As early this morning, Krista sent you an email, I think, too, I think.
Yeah, but
Hadn't received nothing.
I don't think we can switch, because you lose all those windows. People won't have windows in the office, because this is a building over here, you know. If you flop it,
I'm not interested in windows. I'm interested in getting this building to where it's good and stuff like that. So if the plan shows the windows on the back, fine, or over here, they still can have windows, because you're gonna have at least a 15, probably 10, 15-foot setback over on this side. There will be a building on that
Yeah.
side, yes, on the
But
west side.
what I wouldn't wanna see is, okay, here's our Cadillac, and here's our Buick, and here's our Yugo. We gotta throw the Yugo out. It's not functional. So it's a choice between what do we really want
you know,
and what do we actually need? Because you're gonna have a lot of wants in there, I can tell that right away.
Yeah.
I think we got it pretty well narrowed down to functional. There's not much wasted. In a storage room.
I think Commissioner Becker's giving you some good input.
Yeah, I think so. So.
And then as your next step, we get there, then we evaluate the next step, whether you go phase 3 or whether there's another option out there that can accomplish the same goal and be less expensive.
I think that I've got enough direction to work with Dave and Krista and them and tell them that, where we'll go ahead and go through, like Tina was saying, with what you was asking for, what cost estimate, not a bid, cost estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And that could be a range too. Then you could have, if we do the bare minimum, you know, you get do electrical terminology, because that's one I know most. You put an outlet every 12 feet.
Right.
You don't put in one everywhere there's a desk, it's every 12 feet. So you're getting the bare minimum, you're getting the minimum circuits, and then you get
Get one on each wall.
what you really need. So you need all your data receps, all your outlets, your isolated grounds, your everything. What's that range?
Good question. Good. I thank you for that, because I sat in Krista's office with her here last week, and we looked underneath her desk, just like what we're looking at underneath here.
But it looks the same.
Yeah, I mean, there was a monster major plug-in deal, power strip,
Every old building.
and there was plug-ins galore, and she was tripping over them. And that's not what I wanna see when this building is complete.
You know, everybody needs a battery backup
If I need
instead.
4 plug-ins underneath this desk area, I want 4 plug-ins, or 4 sets of plug-ins underneath there for electrical, so yeah, that's something like you're talking about, and you evaluate
But
the
there's-
plant that way.
There's still the same, you know, in the HVAC world too.
Okay.
And you do mini splits to accommodate your general areas, your common areas, so that all your units aren't running all the time. But it's gonna cost you more, but it's gonna save you in the long run.
Right. Okay.
But a range of, you know,
Okay.
if you had everything you need, or you have just what you need.
Okay. The last thing on this discussion is, I did ask her for some grants, and the grants, what she has availability to is gonna be May, so we need to continue on to get access to those grants and use them, so.
They expire in May.
And they're not all, her total amount is not all building, yeah, some of it's for the possibly for the canopy, some of it's for the refrigerator, exam tables, and exam room furniture, things like that, so.
Furniture's the one that's coming at the end of the year, ain't it?
That's the one in May. She got it extended to May.
Yeah, but it's coming up, so, anyway, there is total, maybe somewhere around 70 to 80,000 total. Split that out, so.
And then we can apply for more
Yeah.
additional grants once you guys.
Okay, thank you, that answers
Once we
my
have a plan,
questions.
we can apply for something.
Yep.
What about, the other thing, I'm not sure that was asked, she may have said something. The services, like other smaller counties are starting to lose, and so we've picked up some of them, like Wick and a few other ones, that, is there anything like that that's coming down the pipe that's, we're gonna end up picking up to bail out other people around us? And then we don't have that accounted for.
I think you're talking about unfunded mandates, aren't you?
Yes.
Unfunded.
We need to make sure that we're
Yeah.
thinking about
I
it.
mean-
Because wants and needs, well,
Yeah.
sometimes a need is something you don't even know about. yet.
Right.
The only thing we got is a lactation room that we don't have now, I think.
I think one step we took the other day
And
is.
we got 2 exam rooms instead of, only got 1 now.
Yeah.
We only have one exam room now?
Mhm. Now, we've got 2
Or you got two?
in the plan, plus a lactation, which could be
used as
exam.
later too. The other thing is, we did the other day is, grant funds run out, jobs run out, and I think that's what you're talking about is.
That was on that employee.
Yes, yeah, so we did that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready, we'll move back, get with the meeting, and see. what-
Appreciate the work both of you
Yeah.
putting in on that for us. All right, Brad. You dismissed?
Yes. He's not here yet. Let's do an executive session on contract negotiations.
And how long?
Depends on your interest. 20 minutes.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Before we do that, if somebody was waiting for public comments, could we?
Okay.
I don't know, are you gonna come back in public and have some comment left then, Brad?
I'm sure we will, but I mean, if there's somebody waiting, we might as well just do that now.
I've been here for a while.
Just gotta, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes to.
That's all I need. Sir.
Okay.
I sorry to just drop in like this.
No, our public comments usually in the morning, so I'm glad you spotted it out.
Yeah.
Or no, I mean, not in the morning, but the
At the
very
end.
beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning too. So.
Can you give your name, please?
My name's Clark Dirks, live on Indigo. Randy is my commissioner, and I'm not really representing, but I'm working with a group of landowners that are kind of dismayed that there's another wind farm being developed in the southwest corner of the county, Minnow, Liberty, East Branch and West Branch townships.
I think it's 170.
It's only going up to 170th as far as I know, just south of Hillsborough.
Okay, yeah, Lehigh, Risley, yeah.
No, not that far north, just south of Hillsborough.
Just south.
From what I can
Yeah,
gather.
right here. Yeah, there we go.
It's gonna be a mile south of the township.
Right there.
But I'm working with a group of concerned citizens that are trying to, basically we're trying to stop it. And I'd sent Randy, part of that is informing that these residents what's happened in the last 2 wind farms that have gone up. We're talking with landowners that have wind generators in their backyard from the second phase. They're not happy with it, and so we're putting together some information to send these landowners. Last month I sent Randy an email asking some questions about how these first 2 projects were put together and approved, and I would like to get some information from the commission, and you can have that copy to pass around. But they're actively pursuing landowners right now in that area, and so we're kind of under a time crunch to get some information to these landowners so that they can make an informed decision and decide whether or not this is actually what they want. You know, you're looking at a 100-year investment in the county that may last 10 years, but the scars will be there for 100 years. And so I'm just asking that the commission take a look at this list of questions that I've submitted to Randy last month and see if you can give me an answer on those so that I can inform the rest of the citizens in our area what's been done in the past and how we can move forward and do what's right for the county, which I don't think wind farms are right for the county. They're just, if they weren't subsidized, they wouldn't be here.
Clark, do you know, are they, the landowners that are being solicited, are they being reimbursed for going to an attorney to get legal?
I don't think they're reimbursed for anything unless they sign an agreement.
We're up north. Yeah, because one of our wind farms were. So I was just wondering.
You should have taken it to an attorney. Sorry, I didn't mean
Yes,
to.
go ahead.
But yes.
Give me a little more on that statement. Yeah.
When they were leasing land
They have rights.
for the north.
Okay, with this leasing ground. Okay.
I guess recommended that they go to their attorney or an attorney
Independent.
to get legal aspects answered, and the company reimbursed them for the attorney fee.
Okay. That's
I don't,
Yeah,
they're only contacting landowners with 80 acres or more, large enough to put a wind turbine on at this point.
But still, if they pay for the attorney, whatever.
They're not approaching the ones that really get impacted, because a lot of these landowners are non-resident landowners. They don't live on the ground that these wind turbines are put up. You know, I sit and I look at 30 to 40 blinking red lights every morning. I get up and look out my kitchen window, and my property value, the more they put up, the less my property is worth, because people don't want to look at that.
I mean, the lights don't blink anymore now,
They still blink.
they're not supposed to go to
They
the
haven't.
They haven't got them in.
I don't think they've activated
I
it
thought
yet.
they did.
No, they need to get those in because it's a requirement, but
I thought they were.
until they can get that done, they're going to blink all the time.
Have you guys talked to people that
It's better if they blink all
got
the time.
turbines?
Yeah.
If you fall asleep
They're not-
and
they're
then all of
not
a sudden
happy
they kick
Well,
off.
I've heard
It's
of
gonna
it,
scare
not
the hell out
happy.
of you.
Tom Brindle, it's not happy.
Well, some of those answers, I gotta get to Sharon, make sure, most of it's for planning and zoning is what most of that is, so I've gotta get to Sharon and see if she'll answer some of it.
I don't think they've been into planning and zoning yet about.
No, they haven't, but the questions to the answers.
So, and one of the questions there are the taxes, commercial property, and they are. The 1 acre that they sit on.
Yeah, the turbine.
Yes.
and
1
Yes.
acre is
Yes.
taxes commercial.
Yes.
That I
Yeah.
do know.
Yeah, I know the equipment and whole project will be tax commercial in 10 years.
In 10 years, when they've depreciated to nothing and they're not functioning.
We found with the pipeline, it worked out quite well for the county. So,
So,
we've got
thank
about
you.
6 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I need, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
But if I could get some answers to those, I'd appreciate it, so I can let everybody else know it's,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
All right, ready for executive session on the board?
Well, Isaac is
He was
now.
Oh,
here.
okay.
He was here.
Yeah, I didn't see him.
Oh, there, okay.
Actually. No, I should have.
Being bad.
Yeah. All right, Brad, where would you like to take us?
Why don't we start with the lake regulations that I
Okay.
discussed with you last time and some
Yes.
of the general concerns I had. I called Isaac and asked him to come in and weigh in generally on the things that he's got the greatest challenges with. As we try to draw these things up, it's obviously, as I mentioned last time, getting to be a pretty voluminous document. It won't have to end that way, but as to the things in particular that are of concern to him week to week and month to month, wanted him to come in and kind of address that. Thought that would be helpful as a next step before I finalize that thing, so.
Come up to the microphone, please. Got to make sure everybody online hears you.
I don't know. I want to edit properties.
Let's see here.
Regulations.
Cheap too.
Huh?
Probably high dollar. Probably high dollar.
I had 7 more.
There's the first
Drop
problem.
around the way in.
I can pass it on out there. I can
No,
look off
it's-
Dave. I can look off Dave.
We got his right here. Pass that one on down there and we can work off one together.
You said it before.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good. Let's get it.
You see it in your sleep? All right, where do you want to start?
Really just kind of, I was gonna let Isaac, if that's all right.
Yeah,
Just
that's
kind of,
fine.
because I alerted him to the question.
Yep. So I kind of went through here, which it's kind of one of those things, this copy of mine here is highlighted and marked all over. I kind of go through it every so often and look at some stuff that we deal with from time to time or things that are brought up by the public to me in the lake office. And so, you know, like Brad said, some things that we have problems with or people confused by what we have in here. And I think some of it just maybe needs clarified, I guess. I'll start there. So in the first paragraph down here, starting right underneath there where it says smoking in all county park and lake buildings is prohibited, it talks about the park and lake being closed to the general public between 11 p.m. and 6:30 a.m. Except for those with the proper permits, which would be your camping permits. But then right underneath fishing, and this has kind of always been a hot topic, right underneath fishing over on the next column there, down, it says fishing shall be permitted 24 hours a day. And then under the heated dock, it says the heated dock is open 24 hours a day year round. So that's kind of always been a big deal on the curfew thing, is if there's 11 p.m. curfew, does that apply to fishermen or does that not apply to fishermen? I know we do those small lake meetings. It seems like they kind of handle it 50-50. Some of them say no at 11 unless you have your camping permit, you're out of here. Some of them say as long as you have a fishing pole in your hand, that rule doesn't apply to you. And that's kind of one of the things we get asked about all the time. Do I need a camping permit to fish past 11 o'clock, or if I'm fishing, do I get a pass on that?
And just to add to that one thing, I'm sure, we haven't talked about this specifically, but I have in another lake situation, that if you allow for the fishing permit, these guys will take a pole and put some kind of a line on it and out there, and they will go find the cooler, and 6 of them will sit around, they only have one pole, but they're fishing, and they raise all kinds of hell, sitting there just completely wasted before morning. But they were fishing, so kicking them out, we can kick them out for disorderly conduct, but before it gets that bad, you'd like to be able to tell them, go home. And it's a problem with that kind of inconsistency.
Okay, a few years back, we opened it up, we went with the state for the fish and everything, and that's for all the fishing and everything.
Correct.
What does that entitle to?
I have all of those printed off, all of those regulations, and I've put those and juxtaposed them to what we have already. And we still have the ability to control that for, you know, the safety issue against what they have. And that also, all the trot line information, all of that is, they've got minimum regulations, but again, we still have the ability to be more strident, not less, in certain circumstances. And we do, you're right, I didn't bring that up last week, and I should have. We have certain obligations that Isaac is stuck with, and so am I, because we've accepted funds, or in certain instances, if we're allowing them to go ahead and repopulate in terms of putting fish out and that kind of thing, we're stuck with. But again, most of those are pretty pragmatic, and they don't get into a lot of the public safety and peace and quiet issues that we run into, and that I get phone calls about during the summer from some of the people adjacent with their dogs, and even without the dogs, just people who live there just get irritated as heck at some of the behavior.
So you've had 6 people using one pole, huh?
What? Well, you know, I guess,
Yeah.
I get both sides of it very
Yeah.
well too. You know, the one side of it for me though is, you know, a lot of those guys, they're out they come out at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then they're out until 6 in the morning.
They leave second shift with everything in the back of the truck and come, I've heard it too.
Right.
And they come over there, and they may even throw up a tent in the right circumstance, and they aren't bothering anybody, and they make no noise, because they really are serious. They're catching lunch.
Yeah, right.
And so they have a reason to want to be there. Balancing all that is a bit of a problem, but we have to figure it out.
Because that, yeah, on the flip side of it, you know, you also, with the camping permit, that's something for me to check pretty easily. Hey, do you have your camping permit?
Yeah.
If they're fishing, you know, at a certain point at night, when I go to bed, you know, they might be out fishing. But I also think that's a lot of the times too, where then you get your issues. Well, then the next day a dog owner goes out, whoever goes out, their dog's got trash and beer cans and whatever else all there down by it. And you don't know.
Right. But you didn't do your job, did you?
Right, yeah, who was there.
Yeah.
And so, and that's kind of where, I mean.
You did, but you didn't.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
You're supposed to be out there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Just fix that by leaving fishing open 24 hours a day and making alcohol illegal after 11. I mean, that way you've got an out if somebody's out there doing something, get out of here, whatever. That lake was developed as a fishing lake.
Yeah. Well, as it is now, that's how we've been doing it. Because if you're fishing, you're fine. But if you're out there just parked.
But I mean, put a little teeth into the other side of it, that you've got to.
It's like Brad said, there is on the conduct.
Yeah.
It's, so you basically kick them for anything, but you don't if they don't get out of line.
And this is going to get back to the same one I'm going to repeat over and over again. I suspect you've got very limited resources in terms of staff. So if you ask Isaac to do all this, well, yeah, he can call a sheriff, but my God, the size of our county and the number of officers, they are not going to get over there very quick. But maybe they will if they're in the area. And so, who's going to do it? It's back to your question again. Who controls all this and who's going to enforce?
When it comes to a public disturbance, that always goes back to the sheriff.
Yeah.
Unless Isaac wants to be deputized.
Yeah, I mentioned
Well, I
that
mean,
to him this morning.
I was gonna say too, 90% of the time, I'm normally the first person they call anyways, and we can go over there, and like I said, 90% of the time it's resolved. There are those other 10% where it does get to the point to where, yes, the sheriff does have to get called, but, you know, it's kind of a last case scenario, especially on something minor like trash or whatever the case is, but that was just something that I get asked every single year about the curfew, because we do have signs up with the curfew and everything, but also with the fishing 24/7. So that was just something that I had marked here because it is something that we get asked a lot, and it does seem like depending on what lake you're at, the rules are a little different as far as how they chase that, but.
Does it help you if they have to get a camping permit to come in the middle of the night?
Well, see, and that'd be easier for us to keep track of who's out there past 11 o'clock, and that was kind of the thing. That's the other thing is if you wanted to take it that route and you can fish all night, but you just have to get yourself a camping permit if you're gonna be fishing past 11. And that would be easier for us to track, because we would have documentation as far as who's out there, or who at least, is out past 11, but.
What kind of camping permit are they required to have those?
It would just be
Primitive?
a primitive spot, primitive for the night, and then, whether you camp all night or whatever, as long as you're out past 11, then you would be required to have that permit. But, which is just a little tag that they hang in their vehicles.
What's it cost?
For Marion County residents, it's $7, and for out-of-county residents, it's $8.
And how late can you buy them during the day?
Well, during the summer, probably about any time on Friday and Saturday, because we're always out there. But, and I know too, like a lot of times, guys will call at midnight and say, they're traveling, they'll pull in late with their camper at midnight, they'll call.
And you say, okay.
I'll just come and see me in the morning. Yeah, come and see me in the morning. But
Thanks
yeah,
for the call.
Yeah. And I mean, that happens too, and I'm sure that would happen if you took this route as well. And I'm sure there'd be a lot that would come out late and leave before we open, and you would never know. But I mean, that's just part of it. But
What keeps it going?
It's just the
Windows.
Windows
are shit.
okay.
The storms are
Oh, yeah.
So it's being hit by something. One door's open.
the couple of other things that we just have, I mean, Brad, this is mainly, I don't know if there's a solution to this at all, but just the things that I kind of have issue with. In the first paragraph here, we do have a big issue, especially in the summertime when we have our summertime dumpster schedule. It's that the lake trash containers are not for cabin owners or local residents. That's a constant issue that we face. People bringing all their trash from projects and things like that and filling up our dumpsters. Sometimes we can get mail out of there and contact them and remind them that it's not for public use, but that is something that we deal with constantly, especially throughout the summer. During the winter, we pull 85% of our dumpsters out there, and that kind of takes care of that, because the ones that are remaining are all by our buildings. But during the summer, when we have a lot out, we deal with that. We deal with speed limit stuff. I know residents are constantly coming into the office talking about people driving around too fast. I don't know what year that was. There were some speed bumps put up at one point or another out there, which I do think has helped, especially during our high traffic areas. But that's another thing we get a lot of complaints about.
And that one's consistent with the one I had last week from Sharon about sightlines and people putting up stuff. And it's difficult to see around, even though these are just, single lane almost. They're roads.
Yep.
You still gotta have some safety element to that. We're responsible. And everything I can find suggests we're responsible.
Setback rule.
Yep, and so if we don't have that 125 degrees available so you can see when it has an accident, we're gonna get joined, which is well. And they have a point, even though it doesn't feel like something we would regulate that heavily, it is ours to do. And then her question was, well, okay, now who does that? Does Isaac do that? Do I do that? Does the sheriff do that? Well, it's primarily the sheriff. Do they have the manpower for that? I think you know the answer they're gonna give you.
They don't. For sure.
The next thing I have is on the little last tab there on the bottom. It says docks and boathouses. I don't know. Once again, the last time this was really looked at, but under the rules, this is for dock owners, talking about what they can use as far as construction goes. It says only extruded foam or vinyl barrels filled with extruded foam may be used. The state does not want anybody using those foam floats anymore. They all need to be the encapsulated floats, so I do think that
Needs to be striped.
it needs to be maybe altered. And then just 2 paragraphs down from that, it says that the docks must be constructed out of CCA treated or redwood lumber. I don't know if we need to change that, but a lot of them have gone over that Trex, that plastic,
Yep.
whatever that is, material.
That's better.
Yeah, I mean, and that.
More and more of them have gone away completely from the CCA.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Because of the potential leaching, I had to make that phone call, and I got more information than I ever got from that guy about what that will do and how it works and how that can bleed into the water and the inconsistencies and what it does to certain types of trout and the levels of adulteration in the water system and then the microbes. And I mean, he went into detail that I would never even imagine I'd ever want to know. I just don't. So it can be a pollutant. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
What's all that truck's made out of? They're all of the same material?
Don't know for sure. Most of I know is recycled PVC.
Yeah, that's what I've understood. Some kind of recycled plastic or things. Yeah.
That's the reason why you got to put in twice as many supports.
Yeah.
Did you ever see PVC on a wall that does this?
Yeah.
So you got to put in twice as many supports so it still stays straight.
The other thing that came up with that, he did mention, which was useful on that stuff, is depending upon what you do with color, apparently, or how it's done. There are some of these that are produced that the dye or the color that's used in them is also something just as bad as treated lumber. So,
I just wonder what all.
and I don't know either. We'd have to research that a bit more. It does mention it in the newest form of the administrative regs and the guidelines that they are strongly urging that any kind of treated lumber not be used at all on any dock project. Redwood is still, I guess, okay, as long as it hasn't been treated in any fashion. And then this newer material, they mentioned, depending upon how it is made, constructed, and maintained.
And I know there are a few too that have kind of done what we did with the heated dock and have done the concrete pavers, which I think is great as well. I mean, a lot less maintenance, but the only other thing I have on this, on the back page of that, which is under that same category there, it talks about how the May 1st of each year we do our annual inspections, saying that if those docks aren't maintained by May 1st of each year, that the county can pull those docks off at the owner's expense. This is one of those that's, there's a couple of them out there that have kind of been fighting us on this. There's a couple that aren't technically up to code right now. And the big thing has always been the blue-green algae, is working on those docks or going down on those docks because there's blue-green algae. And I know this year, with the lake being super low, we really avoided that for the majority of the year. But that is another thing. I don't know what we can do about it, but there's a couple of them out there that we've been in contact with that need to be fixed.
And I think that, again, on that one we've talked about, I don't think it's any mystery, that's going to be one of our major points of contention. And depending upon, we've got several owners that have acquired property out there in the last, say, 3 years in particular, who are actively opposed to it and feel like, yeah, I knew it, this was the deal, but I had no idea what you guys did to regulate, what you guys did to protect us as property owners, yet we maintain a dock that we really do want out there. I'm not arguing that they want a dock, just I'm supposed to let everybody use it. I don't have any ability to control beyond a certain point, and you guys aren't. And that's kind of how it gets thrown out there.
Where it's always been.
And I give that answer and somehow that answer works about as well as go talk to Isaac, which I really only try to do.
Go talk to Isaac.
If you ever catch one of those guys, send him back to Brad.
Yeah, that's right. The only other thing, which every year that goes by has become more and more of a hot topic, and we've touched about it very, very briefly in here, is boat size. Or maybe not boat, and this is where it gets confusing, maybe not boat size, but motor size, or what you can and can't do out there. So surfing is the #1 thing. You know, it's kind of the new popular thing that they do, where they have these big speed boats, they have ballast in the back, these empty tanks, they fill those with water, it sinks the back into the boat, and it creates this big wave to where the guy can be on the back on a surfboard. And it has become very popular. The issue with that is every single person that's out there on another boat, or every single person that is out there on a dock, they are furious about it.
Any kind of a wave runner, they end up doing the somersault.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, it's, on a lake our size, it is hard on the shorelines, it is hard on the docks, and I completely understand that.
Go to the docks and start building piers.
Well, and I know I've called I know Council Grove City Lake, they deal with the same thing. What they said, they're big enough, they have buoys all the way around the lake, like 200 yards out from the shoreline. And they mark that, so you can't have those boats within the shoreline or so, but we looked at that, now there's no feasible way for us to do anything like that, or your ski area becomes so small that I think you'd have more of an issue doing that than anything else. I mean, there is no restrictions right now, but it is something that I do think is probably gonna continue to be brought up. But I don't know, you know, because once again, there's really, you know, there's 30-foot boats that put on sometimes out there that have a 30 horsepower motor. So the length and all that stuff, it's kind of hard to say, well, it's just big boats or boats with big motors, because a lot of those bass boats have huge motors and they don't cause a big weight like that. So I don't know what you do, but I do know that that's kind of been one of the things that a lot of people have came and talked to me about, both dock owners and fishermen and other recreational boaters. You know, the kids on the tubes that are out there with those boats have a hard time enjoying themselves.
Would you recommend limiting horsepower?
Well, and
Yeah, because some little boats have big horsepower motors, but they're actually fishing.
yeah, and they just will ski
But
right
they
across
have
the
that
top.
in case they need to get somewhere.
And that's where it's hard. I don't know how you can word that. I know that there are some people that have just said there's no surfing allowed on this lake, and that's how they've done it. But
There's some that have this wave creation limitation.
yes.
Well, who's gonna go out there and measure that thing as it
Well,
goes
that-
by?
yeah. Right.
I'm still trying to figure that out in terms
Well,
of enforcement.
And that's what they've talked about too, is they won't allow people to fill their ballast, those
Yeah.
tanks up with
Yeah.
water, but like you're gonna go out.
Surfing wouldn't affect skiing.
Say that again. No, this is it's a completely different water sport. They don't even have a rope. They're on a surfboard. The boat
I
creates
don't know
such
why
a wave.
they'd want to be on that small of water,
Well, that's
water to do it.
that's kind of the
It sounds to me
argument.
like that's something that needs to be banned.
It's surfing, it's not even wakeboarding. Wakeboarding, you still use a rope.
Yeah, there's no rope involved. It's almost like the boat creates such a big wave that you're
Didn't I
just
see something?
surfing.
If somebody's trailing a boat, you had to have a 150-foot minimum.
150-foot minimum from any dock or other boat.
Oh, I thought.
Yes.
What about the tow rope?
There's nothing in here. All it says is that no jet skis cannot pull anything. There is
Because that would cover your inner tubes, your skiers, and your wakeboarders.
Yeah.
If you had some clause in there about rope, that would eliminate
Possibly,
the surfing.
yeah.
Well, how's surfing done? I mean,
It's exactly what he said.
Wave pushes you forward.
Put that boat down in the water as hard as you can, and you push, and then it creates this big wave off the side.
Right.
So
The surf
It's got this
jumps
wall
off the
that you-
side
Get on.
and then gets on that.
And then those guys are sitting
that
back there
wave.
waiting till surf's up, and then they go ahead and surf.
And they ride.
So the boats,
I see.
it's really not, they don't go fast, like they're probably
No.
going 10 to
Yeah,
15,
yeah.
but they're just plowing.
I want to see how a guy can surf if he don't have a rope.
Yeah.
Right, now I understand it. He catches it.
Actually catching the wave and riding. the
Riding
wave.
wave, yeah. Okay.
Or a big wall
Okay.
going downhill.
And that's why it's so disturbing to everybody else.
It sends that wave out to everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can see where that would cause a lot of erosion.
And that's it. It's, I mean, and that's
This-
why.
This lake is too small for that
It is.
sport.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it.
That'd be a big political football.
I mean, you still ski, you can still tube, you can still wakeboard.
The other one, this stuff, I don't know why, and it hasn't been like a dozen or something, but I think 4 calls from people who are just irritated as heck on a Monday morning after a weekend, wanting us to more heavily enforce the DUI tickets, boating under the influence, which usually involves someone out on the water and running them down. And people, let's face it, there's alcohol all over that place, especially when it gets to be too much. And you can tell it, obviously, with some people, but they're like, well, we called it in and nothing happened. Well, most of the time.
Isn't that the responsibility of Wildlife Department?
Not necessarily, it can be, but we have jurisdictional right to get on there.
So they were out, they actually did come out twice this year on holiday weekends and put their boat on. And they did their inspection of all the other boats, you know, and that's kind of where, and I don't know, we were talking about it this morning. State code is it is 100% legal to have alcohol on any boat.
Yeah.
The operator just cannot be drinking. Everybody else on the boat legally can. And that's what they said.
Same as the party boats.
Yep, and they came through and, I mean, they didn't give any, but they said they didn't have any. There was a lot of people with alcohol on their boats, but nobody that was operating was under the influence.
If I talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, they normally come out, I mean, I would say once or twice a year where they actually put their boat on the lake and do those. A lot of times they'll sit at the boat ramp and check them as they pull off, but.
They're like everybody else, they're short-staffed.
Yep, yep.
Did you read those laws to them when you got that call, Brad, that they can have beer on
Mhm.
them? Okay.
No, and they said, we understand that, but he said, I'm watching these guys driving, you know, with a mixed drink. And then, you know, if they see anybody that looks like it's gonna be upset about it, they hand it to the person next to them.
Yeah,
And
right.
like in your car, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
On a boat, it is not. It's a much more liberal, and I'm trying to explain that, it didn't go well, because the people that I'm talking to are unhappy when they started the conversation. And I wasn't giving them a solution.
What about the clause that the boat isn't registered in Marion County?
Mhm.
Can we have an exception that if the operator is a Marion County resident?
That they could get, like, you're talking about for the lake
speed?
permit?
Because I'm a culprit. I have buddies that live outside the county that have boats. I don't have boats. But then I'm restricted because I'm in their boat, but I'm trying to use their boat and I'm a resident of Marion County.
Well, it used to be if you were from outside of Marion County, you couldn't go over 5 miles an hour.
That's how it is.
That's what I'm saying.
That's how it is, yep. That's exactly how it is.
And I'm good with that rule, but I'm just saying, if you have a resident that has access to a boat,
Go 5 miles an hour?
can you make an exception?
That seems simple enough.
No, absolutely not.
The county commissioner maybe.
Well,
No, that's really it.
Well, and so, you know, that's something that we get asked all the time, or even, like, let's say it's a cabin owner, and they have some friends coming up and staying with them that weekend, and can we
Use their boat.
or can they use their boat with us and get it registered and do it that way, you know, and like we don't allow it, but could you change that? I mean, I don't know. My concern, I guess
They pay
my.
property tax in Marion County.
Well, and what always worries me is that's the problem with it is there is no day permit, right? So like if something like that, then that's fine, but then the next time they come out, they say, well, I got my permit on my boat, because it's just a sticker that goes on the boat for the year, and then you're not with them, and that's where it's kind of how do you.
So I didn't understand the sticker part.
Yeah,
I
so
thought
there's
it was just
this-
because the boat wasn't.
No, the boat can technically be registered anywhere, like for the cabin owners out at the lake that live full-time in Wichita, a lot of those boats.
Or live in Oklahoma.
Yeah, those boats are registered there, but they can provide you with proof that, hey, we live at 22 Lakeshore, wherever. So then they can get that permit, but like what you're saying, whereas the name on the registration of that boat is not a Marion County resident or a cabin owner or a trailer owner, but their cousins are or whatever. And that's where we've kind of stuck to saying no on that, is just because once that sticker goes on, there's no way for us to tell what the situation was when they got this.
Yeah, who the operator is.
Yeah. If you could do a day pass or something like.
That's just where I.
Yeah, then you could
that's
maybe,
what I was going
yeah,
at.
you could maybe handle that a little differently.
How about $50 or $100? I mean, we gotta respect the taxpayers. While if we give a permit, I want it expensive that your buddy comes from Oklahoma, brings an Oklahoma boat up, but you and him, or you rent it for that weekend, so you go out and get a permit for Saturday and Sunday, $50 a day, or I don't know what, I'm just giving you a number.
Well, I mean, once you're there, it's, $50 isn't much. I mean, it is, but when you.
No, not for electricians. For
Well,
some
no,
of us.
when you're there and you're expecting to be able to water ski, right? Or wakeboard, and you can't. I will pay the $50 so I can have the weekend.
Well, and it could be $100 a day. I don't know, I'm just saying that I don't see why we couldn't do something like that, but it would have to be during the
pass.
day or something like that, maybe.
Day pass.
Day pass or a day.
It comes down to this lake is not big enough for
So
all
that,
that kind of recreation.
that's what I was gonna,
And so
that would be my only other
You
concern.
just gotta set the rule and
Is it-
stick with it.
You get 30 people from Wichita decide to come up with all the boats.
On a 4th of July
I
weekend.
mean, if it's
yeah.
that big a deal
Well, I'm
from there,
saying-
they only got 5 miles to go to the big lake.
No, what I'm saying is, that hasn't got anything to do with what you just said. You're talking about people from outside the county. I'm talking about a boat that's registered outside the county, but a county resident
Is
using
with
it.
them. Yeah.
It's got to be registered in Marion County.
So you got your brother's boat you brought down from Montana to keep it for the summer.
Yeah, and I'm using it.
5 mile an hour. Like it. Sticks with the rule.
That was,
You start making exceptions to all of those rules. Within a year or two, there's no rules again. And I was right back in here.
well, and that's something, like what Jonas said there, that's something that we get asked all the time.
Plus,
And-
somebody's gonna get hurt bad out of there one of these days.
Well, and that's the other side of it is, there are times where, especially your holiday weekends, where you're kind of sitting there with your fingers crossed because there's so many boats out there and jet skis, and it can get nerve-wracking as it is. And so, yeah,
I worked with a guy that used the county lake, loved it, but when it got to some of the weekends, he said, I just get out of there. He said, it's just too heavy, too many boats and all of that. So I respect that. When you say there's too many boats, yes, on some weekends, yes, I do that. I can.
It's over capacity for what is originally intended.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is just that kind of, we were talking about it, looking at the boat ramps, as time's gone on since it was built, everything's gotten bigger, faster, and that, it just makes a
Nobody
big
buys a
difference
25
out there.
horse aluminum boat anymore.
Right.
And that's my next question is, what do we provide this gentleman to enforce that? You don't have you got a lake boat, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not
Right.
he ain't gonna catch that speeder going down there, let's put it that way. So.
Wait till it comes back.
Yep. But yeah, that does get brought up all the time.
And that brings up really 2 additional points. One, some of these lakes have a limitation on, how many units they're gonna allow on a given weekend. We've been known for actually having a fairly open area, so it seems to attract more and more traffic. So you just hear that from people. The other thing is inspections in terms of bait box and all that for foreign species and all of that. Our ability to do that. That one I get everywhere. Harrington's the same way. We're having a heck of a time with how do you enforce that and where do you get enough staff to do it. You get zebra lessons and everything else going on and how to solve it.
In the end, you got a big liability issue.
Yeah, you do.
So
That's
far.
why you gotta set some really pretty strict regulations and
Well, and I
say,
like,
sorry, folks.
Yeah. With that one, honestly, I would say 95% of people abide by it. Every once in a while, you'll look out the window and have somebody trying to get on a boat ramp over on the other side or whatever. But we've been. I think it's been a rule long enough, and everybody's kind of
Just
been
knows.
around to where they know. But yeah, there's always 1 or 2 every year, but for the most part, people are really good about coming by the office to get inspected before they go on.
And most of them, if they're avid sportsmen, they know what the risk is.
Yeah.
So it's been a miracle.
Well, and you kind of, it has been, and even when they have been somewhere, they come out and their live well has water in it, and you tell them no, and you tell them why, they say, okay, we didn't know you guys didn't have them. Like you said, they know rotation, especially since there's multiple lakes with a very similar situation that we have out there. But yeah, I do think unfortunately it's a matter of
Time.
when, yeah, but so far so good.
Yeah, we've been amazingly lucky.
I think I can tell you that I've heard these same problems 20 years ago. I mean, it's sad that we've got some issues that could cost us, like Brad said.
It always takes one person to ruin it for
Yeah.
everybody.
And I will say this philosophically, we're better off with the tools for rules, you know, I mean, that we
Yeah.
have them in place, even if we don't have the manpower to fully enforce. On the instances where it does occur, the ability to do so is better than not, because that does make us look dilatory. We don't at least have it in place. And I know that sounds a little inconsistent, but there is only so much manpower, and we really, at this point, can't afford what it would take to enforce them even the way I'm writing them to the fullest degree.
But you still want them, because if you
Yeah.
needed to enforce, you have
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. In the most egregious cases, at least it's there.
That was about everything.
Okay, well, that's what I needed. I just wanted you guys to hear all of that as well.
You going around with your donation plate to everybody around the lake and so you can hire a constable?
No, if they incorporated, they'd have to have their own police department.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have to.
Everybody.
Well, not, but.
We should.
All right, where do you want to go next? Do you have any more, Brian?
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Then you'll at least know when he's reviewing it, when we come back to what
Okay.
we're trying to deal with.
Yes. Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one's an executive session, attorney-client privilege, contract negotiations.
I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss contract negotiations pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, item number two. It was so far down the list. Consultation with our attorney-client privilege, Commission Brad and Tina for 20 minutes, 2:35 to 2:55.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. We will be back at 2:55. Huh?
Second.
I thought I heard you. Yeah.
The road second.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we are out of executive session. No decisions made. What do you have for us next?
One more executive session. This is a separate form of contract negotiations, so I separated it out.
And how long would you like?
15 minutes
Okay.
to include the commission and myself.
Not Tina.
Not Tina, this
Okay.
time.
I move we recess into executive session in order to discuss contract negotiations pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. Item 2, consultation with our attorney-client privilege with the commission and Brad for 15 minutes. Let's go from 2:56 to 3:11.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garing. I heard that one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carried 5-0. We will be back at 3:11.
You're not.
Technology's coming around.
43.
Okay.
That's
This
all.
conference
You
will
still
now
got
be
10 more years of
recorded.
working like that.
Yeah.
All right, we are out of executive session, no decisions made.
No, sorry, you got 10 more.
Do you have another one for us, Brad?
No, sir. I do not.
That's enough for today? You sure?
Yeah, that's shock value.
Okay, very good. All right, any commission comments?
I think I took care of the one I had
All right.
written down, and that was on the county internet to possibly do something.
Okay. Okay, just a reminder on our meeting dates. Tina went through it, I'll probably mess it all up. 26th at 9:30. That's at 9:30.
9:30, not 9?
9:30, this coming Thursday.
9:30 on
It's
Thursday.
9 o'clock, you won't be late.
How long is that meeting?
Not very, it's just to visit with the
20
leadership.
minutes.
Okay, it's not
30 at most.
It's not a decision-making meeting. It is a visitation.
Yeah, I know that. I just didn't know if there was a scheduled time.
9:30, I would say 10 at the latest.
I would think so, unless they have a lot of questions or you all have a lot to say.
And then it'll mess up the rest of the day.
Well, thanks for that last comment, Tina.
Tina will let you know when it's time to stop.
That's so funny.
31st is payday meeting, that's at 9 o'clock.
Tuesday.
Yep,
Yes.
Tuesday, and there may be.
Feel free to dress up.
Yeah.
It's Halloween.
Dress as an accountant. See how many Scott Lloyd look
Wear a
like.
nice costume year round.
And then the 6th at 12:30?
No, you
Is
said
that the
we're
one we
gonna-
went to 9?
9.
Okay, I was thinking down here, but it's elections already.
And then on the 13th is 11 o'clock
Okay.
for the canvas.
And it's the 13th. Good. All right,
I'm allowed to be myself.
is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Becker, is there a second by Commissioner Dalkey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed nay. Motion carried, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.